All right, welcome back to the Friendly Rivals podcast. My name is Harrison Tarr, joined by my co-host, as always, Mr. William Clack. Clack, good to be back. Sorry about last week, some technical difficulties on me. We had some exciting housekeeping announcements that we'll run through real quick. Hopefully I can find it in the drafts on YouTube and be able to post it afterwards. That's the hope. We have our YouTube up and running, so I already spoiled that. And we're going to try to get that broadcasted out. Clack's got some news on the Twitter front if you want to go ahead and break it down to everybody.
Yeah, Twitter, we need to get that up and running, but we got it up. It's looking good. Friendly Rivals Pod on Twitter. We're going to start posting the videos and start live tweeting on there as well. So everything's looking good. We're getting everything set in motion right now.
Absolutely. Some exciting news on that front. Some exciting news for our hometown high school before we jump in everything. Got some new talent. Not that Grayson was lacking any in the first place, but USC commit for now. I think this could play a big role, transferring to Grayson High School, and I'm really excited. I don't know if you're going to go back next week. I'm thinking about going back next week.
Yeah, we're going back for the Parkview game. Grayson ranked 5th nationally on Max Preps. Jake Garcia should be a big addition. They needed a QB. They had been hurting since Carlos left.
Yep.
JHSA is making a lot of questionable decisions this year.
Yep.
Kind of confusing me, but, everything's looking up now for Grayson, so that looks good, and I'll probably head back and watch some games.
Yep. No, I'm with you. That's a good transition. I wanted to bring that up, though, because I know we're about to hop into SEC football, and I just wanted to just say I think that being 45 minutes down the road from Athens could play a role in Garcia's ultimate decision-making. I don't know. I know he's a Cali kid, but you can't convince me that Kirby Smart's not going to try to go after him while he's there.
No shot, but we get our prime quarterback commit is about 15 minutes from here, and his name's Brock Vandegrift. So
Understood.
I don't think we pick another QB. Even if we did, that would be a nice one to have. I don't think we get another QB in this class. But you're right. I mean, he is right down the road now. So
and he's in the heart of all the schools that he had listed in his top 10, other than USC and San Diego State.
Yeah.
So that's something to San Jose State. Excuse me. I'm sorry. It's something to keep an eye on, because now he's in the heart of all these schools where they can easily travel and talk to him. So that's a good way to kind of push into SEC ball. We had an interesting weekend in the SEC. Yeah, for a lot of people. A question for you to start off with, before we get into this, and I'm going to keep this abbreviated, but Auburn, for lack of a better term, laid an egg on Saturday.
Yeah, we did.
There were a lot of opportunities that Auburn, even despite mistakes being made, the Tigers could have won that football game. Probably should have won that football game. Bo Nix turned the ball over 3 times. Two of them were his fault. Another one was one of those freak interceptions where the ball pops up and you can't do anything about it. But it was inexcusable. And I got a question for you now before we recap anything else. Just give me a quick abbreviated answer. Is Malzahn on the hot seat now? Has the time come?
The time's been. What do you mean? I think he should have been fired a long time ago. The only reason he hasn't been is because of the buyout. Y'all's buyout is so large for him. I don't think he's worth that amount of money. So when you extended him after the season of y'all beating Bama and Georgia,
17 season,
I think that really set in motion. Y'all shouldn't have done that. I know it was like, you beat both of your biggest rivals, and it was a big year. But I just think that was y'all's first mistake, and I think he's been on the hot seat, and I think he should have been gone a long time ago. But also Bo Nix should be on the hot seat. I think he needs to start playing better ball.
The problem is, who do you start if you don't start Bo?
I mean, you're right, but I mean, he needs to step up, because I just don't think he's been playing his best brand of football lately.
He's not been playing anywhere near his capacity.
Yeah, no.
And I don't really know what's going on. It's not a lack of I don't think it's a lack of focus. I think for the first couple games you can make the excuse the offensive line didn't piece together. The offensive line has gelled. Offensive line played well against South Carolina.
Did.
Tank Bigsby ran all over the Gamecock defense.
Yeah, I was about to say the bright spot is Tank Bigsby. He is looking pretty good. He's looking like a premier back, and I think that's a bright spot in your offense. It's looking pretty good.
And with Tank opening up so many opportunities, especially this weekend with Harold Joyner coming back and things of that nature, it's hard to ignore the fact that DJ Williams now has the opportunity that he can be a third down 1 yard back now. He doesn't have to be we're feeding DJ Williams and expecting this true sophomore to be able to rack up the yards, because the true freshman's doing it for him. So now you've got those two in the backfield that if Tank needs to take a breather, it's okay. DJ Williams can step up. So that's a bright spot for Auburn. But I'm with you. I think that if Malzahn loses on Saturday, which we're going to get there in a minute, I think could happen.
Yeah.
To Ole Miss. I think it's an uphill battle for him to keep his job, and he will be coaching for his job for the remainder of the season. Because you lose to Ole Miss and there's not a shot you beat LSU. I don't think LSU's all that good. We've been over this, and we're going to go over this here in a moment. But I don't think that there's a shot that you come off of 2 straight road losses to Ole Miss and South Carolina and still find a way to beat LSU. Orgeron needs to win games too.
That's true. You're right.
That's simple. So that's something to be keeping an eye on. And flip from one side of the state to the other side of the state. Let's go ahead and talk about the premier game this past weekend, which wound up, no offense, not being the premier game we wanted it to be for all 4 quarters. But
yeah.
I think I did say give me the Tide by 14.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Just whatever.
Yeah. It was fun. Stetson Bennett was a good feel-good story for a couple weeks. You can't convince me that it's going to be a bounce back, because I just don't know that there's going to be a big game that he's going to be able to handle. He did not play well at all. Mac Jones, I don't know what happened to him. He's playing lights out this year. The Alabama defense, unstoppable by anyone. I personally, I think Alabama may. I've said Clemson and Ohio State over and over again. I may have to change my decision and say I think Alabama's the best team in the country.
And let me get into this. Just a lot of questionable things about this game. You come into this game, it's really hyped up. Georgia, again, for the 3rd straight time, blows a halftime lead to Alabama. It just didn't really make sense. Stetson Bennett, love what he's done for the team. I think he did great things. I think he's had a couple good games. He's just too short. He doesn't have the arm to play in this league to give us explosive plays, especially with the people that we have out wide. And he just later in the game killed us on interceptions. Can't turn the ball over 3 times against the Tide.
Expect to win.
Watching this game, it didn't make any sense why we went away from the run.
I was mind-boggled.
Ole Miss, we go back to the week before. Ole Miss ran for 268 yards on Alabama. So Georgia being the team it is, and it has been, I was expecting us to run the ball a lot more. And it looked like it was fine. Zamir White had 10 carries, 57 yards, 5.7. Kendall Milton, 6 carries, 44 yards, 7.3. Kenny McIntosh, he only had 2 carries. He was limited by injury, but he was averaging 6 yards per carry. James Cook, 5 carries, 16 yards. We threw the ball 40 times with Stetson Bennett. It just didn't look right. It didn't look like we knew what we were doing in the second half. It looked like we were panicked, like we had to do what Alabama was doing in order to have success. And I think our defense is still the best defense in the country. But if your offense can't stay on the field, it felt a lot like last year's SEC championship game against LSU.
That's exactly how I felt.
It felt like we held on for the first half, and then the offense stuttered and stalled out. And then the defense began to wear. And, every Georgia fan is going to sit here and say, yeah, well, I know we got beat, but, I mean, there were some questionable calls with the refs. And I agree. I think there were some questionable
You don't
things.
lose by almost 20 because
Yeah, but you can't blame everything on that. I mean, it's just there was just a span of 3 plays that really killed Georgia. The Eric Stokes PI, I don't think that was pass interference at all. Then they go down and score a touchdown, Devontae Smith, and then they get the ball right back and hit a 90-yard bomb, and that killed Georgia. That killed Georgia. That was where you knew it was over because you allow Alabama to get a 2-touchdown lead, 2-score lead. It's really over because you can't stop their offense. It's hard to stop their offense. And the one thing that Georgia couldn't do was allow those explosive plays. They had to get Alabama in the red zone.
and
And
in large, they did that well in the first half.
It was just a sad, sad showing, and I think it's JT Daniels' time. If I'm serious, I'm serious.
No, I'm with you. You heard me before we got into this.
Stetson Bennett being our starting quarterback with nothing against Stetson Bennett. I respect everything he's done. I'm glad he came in and did what he did. He won the games that we needed him to win. If we were going to lose any game this season, like we said last week, this was the game to lose.
Right.
Because, it's not a division game, so we're not behind in the standings. It was I believe, the toughest game on our schedule.
I agree.
I believe we'll see them again if we beat Florida. I just think Stetson Bennett's ceiling is an 8-2 season. So I am not making the SEC championship.
I would agree with that.
If we go into the SEC championship with Stetson Bennett as the QB, we will lose again.
Correct.
There's no doubt in my mind.
I actually think that you would lose by more.
Yeah. So I think it's time for JT Daniels to step up and be the starting quarterback. I think it's clear now. If Kirby doesn't understand that, I don't know what will help him understand that. I think it's the perfect time. You have a bye week now because of the COVID. We got Kentucky moved back. So you have a bye week and then Kentucky. So use this bye week as a work week. Get JT Daniels getting first team reps against the first team defense. Get him ready for Kentucky. Let him play against Kentucky a full game. Let him play against Kentucky, and I want to see what he can do, and then get him ready for Florida. That's the game plan moving forward if I'm Kirby Smart. But knowing Kirby Smart, this could go the complete opposite direction. This could be a Jake Fromm 2018 situation when we lost to LSU, and everybody was downing Fromm. Everybody was like, okay, it's Fields time. It's Fields time. But no, he's stuck with Fromm, and Fromm played a good game against Florida. I'm not going to take anything away from Fromm. I think he played a great game, but it's clear now that Justin Fields was obviously the better quarterback. And if Stetson Bennett stays our starting QB, our national title hopes, SEC championship hopes are going to start playing this weekend in Columbus. I think losing Justin Fields should be a awakening call for Kirby Smart to actually use an elite QB on your staff. You've had so many former 5-stars that.
Now, I'm sorry to interrupt you because I want to tie this in with what you're saying, and I want to let you finish.
Yeah.
It's you're correct me if I'm wrong. You're 5 of the Kirby tenure.
Oh yes.
You're 5, correct?
Yep.
Is there a sense of we're where we need to be? Why are we not winning these games with these recruits? And is there a sense of starting to point fingers at Smart? Because this is about the time frame where UGA started pointing fingers at Rick.
Okay, let me explain.
Because Georgia let the Mark Rick hatred drag on for way longer before they fired him.
No, I know what you're saying, and no, you're right. I don't think Kirby's on the hot seat by any means.
No, I don't. I'm not.
Yeah.
There's no reason to coach this one.
I think Kirby Smart is one of the best recruiters, if not the best recruiter in the nation. I think that he brings in a lot of talent. I think that's basically half the battle is recruiting, but the other half is on-field decisions. And at some point, you can't blame Jim Chaney or James Coley or Todd Monken. At some point, there's a common theme with the Georgia offense. There's always a common thread.
Dating back to Mike Bobo.
I'm just talking about the Kirby Smart tenure, but you're right. No, you're right. With Kirby Smart, we had Jim Chaney, and the offense. Nobody liked the offense. We had James Coley. Everybody complained about the offense. We have Todd Monken, and honestly, I'm impressed with the offense. I think it looks better than it has. Where compared to last year, where we were scoring 19 points a game, we're scoring 37 points a game. So I'm not sure after this week, but before Alabama, we were scoring 37 points a game.
Right.
So it's a lot better. It's jumped a lot better, but the QB situation is glaringly obvious. Kirby's got his hands in the offense. It's about the guy he feels the most with, and got to let that go. And I think Kirby should just completely take his hands off the offense. I think he should let Todd Monken run the offense. I think he should stick with the defense because, he's the common theme. I don't think he's hot seat by any means, but you're right. I think it's rightful to start questioning why we're not winning these big games, because we're just as talented as Alabama. It's starting to wonder. You've had all these great recruits and you can't get the big game. So,
right.
It's about in-game coaching decisions, the QB situation really for me.
Well, that's something else that to allude back to the Auburn situation, then we're going to wrap this up and move on to talking about how Texas A&M's not real. Oops, did I let that slip out? Sorry. But to allude back to the Auburn situation, that's a lot of what's going on with Malzahn. Don't get me wrong. Auburn fans absolutely hate Gus Malzahn with a passion. Have hated him since he signed his contract extension, which was the most mind-boggling part of the whole thing. However, every year, up until 2020, it has been Malzahn has his hands in the offense. Malzahn stopped playing. Game 3, Malzahn has stopped calling offensive plays. Game 7, Malzahn's calling offensive plays again. Next year, maybe makes it 4 games, no hands in the offense. Hands back in the offense, game 5 through 9. Hands off the offense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's been that way. Then you hired Chad Morris. And all we hear about is how Gus Malzahn is an offensive mastermind. And then his powers with Chad Morris is just going to make this unstoppable offensive force. Well, it's been very stoppable. and quite frankly, not very good. And so you've got to notice the parallelisms. Now, granted, I would in any circumstance where I'm an athletic director at any program, I will hire Kirby Smart over Gus Malzahn 20 times out of 10. I do not think that they should be in the same conversation. I think that Kirby Smart is in that second tier coaching conversation, that first tier being standing alone of Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, and Dabo Swinney. And I'm only including Urban Meyer because you never know when he might come back from his heart effect. But you know what I mean. You can hate them, but they win the football games. They win the big ones. Mm-hmm. And then you have that next tier that I think Kirby Smart leads that pack. I think Jeremy Pruitt will be in that pack. Then you have about 7 levels down, and you have Gus Malzahn. That's an exaggeration. Truthfully, Gus Malzahn to 3rd or 4th tier coach. But at a program like Auburn, he has found so much success in his ability to stay here because of the Auburn family, and we care too much about your feelings. And that has been a problem. And I think that there are some parallels between, for years Malzahn has slid by, and I think to this point Smart has slid by pawning it off on their offensive coordinators. And at some point, you got to say, I don't care how much you don't have to do with the offense. Something's not working. Your defense can be lights out. If you're not scoring points, you're still not winning football games. And that's how I kind of want to wrap that up. I mean, if you think that's a bad analogy, feel free to tell me. And I'm not in any way insinuating that Smart is on the same trajectory.
No, you're really spot on because, like what you were saying about the lights out defense. I mean, we can have the number 1 defense every day.
And Auburn has done. Auburn and Georgia have been 1 and 2 the past 3-4 years.
it rears its ugly head again this year. It happened last year. The number one defense goes up against the number one offense and gets smoked because you can't outscore them. I mean, you got to be able to put up points in this league. And the SEC, it's kind of weird seeing a lot of it's almost like we're not playing defense anymore. But where this game's headed right now, that's what it's looking like right now. And right now you got to score points. And if you can't score points, I don't care what defense you have. They're going to score more than you. It's happened over and over again that the number one offense always beats the number one defense.
You can have the number one offense and an average defense and beat a team with the number one defense and an average offense.
Yeah, you're right. No, completely.
It's the way it goes.
Mm-hmm.
But we spent enough time on that. I just wanted to make that analogy, make sure I'm not the only one noticing some similarities. And like I said, for all of our viewers and all of our listeners, I just want to make this clear. I do not think that Kirby Smart and Gus Malzahn are at all equal. I do not think that even a little bit. Kirby's got him beaten recruiting. He's got him beaten coaching. He's got him beaten culture. 3 very important things to run a successful football program. And Kirby Smart will be successful. And I know that that's, the mantra of, but when. You have to understand, Georgia's now definition of successful has got to be, you got to win the big game. And that's where you should be. I'm with you. A lot of programs would be very, very happy to win 10, 11 games a year.
That's true. You're right.
So take that as you will. A program that would be very happy to win 8 games this year, 9 games this year maybe, Texas A&M. Moving on to recap the rest of the SEC week, and we're going to kind of move through quickly because we spent a little longer than we anticipated, which is fine. Texas A&M, not upsetting, but taking care of business against Mississippi State, 28-14. I think this is a prime example of the air raid works sometimes. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think I'm officially done with Mississippi State. I think.
It was a fluke. It was a total fluke.
I think they just caught LSU on a bad week.
No, they did. And this is Mike Leach's first year, and he's trying to use players that have never used this scheme before. And even then, Mike Leach at Mississippi State is going to be good for 7-8 wins a year in a bowl game, and 7 games on a normal year, 8 games on a year where they're a fluke and they beat someone they shouldn't. They catch someone sleeping. I can see this being very similar to we talked to Ryan Metcalf last week, and he had a great analogy. When Mike Leach was at Washington State, of course SEC doesn't do this, but on like a Friday night, Washington State would upset, Washington or Oregon in like a 9 overtime matchup. Its final score was 98-97, and the game started at 10 p.m. Eastern and ended at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
That's going to be this. They're going to have one signature win a year, and I think Mississippi State's okay with that. Texas A&M, on the other hand, I'm not sold. I'm still not sold. I'm sorry. I'm not.
Man, I hate to do this, but are they going undefeated or for the rest of the season? Because now I'm not as sold on Auburn as I was.
And absolutely no one should be.
Yeah.
But they might not. They have a handful of very losable games, namely the team we're about to talk about, how impressed that you and I mentioned before the show we work with.
It's true.
They've still got to play a handful of teams that I think any one of them could beat them. But they've got their Alabama game and their Florida game out of the way, and they took care of business against Florida.
They did. And right now, so they get Arkansas next week. They're off this week.
Right.
That could be a tough game. That's at home for them. Then they have to go to play South Carolina. I think they win there. Tennessee beats me. I don't know. Tennessee, I don't know. They're confused.
That's a good transition. What we're going to come back to in a second. So we're going to talk about Kentucky, Tennessee next.
Yeah, I mean, that's at Tennessee. They can win right there. Ole Miss, if they can outscore them, they're at home with that one.
But any of these games I feel like a lot of them are toss-ups. You know what I mean?
Really, really. I mean, they could run their schedule. I mean, I don't think they're gonna, barring Alabama having a mid-season, late-season collapse, they're not making the SEC championship.
Oh, not a shot.
So,
not a shot. I will confidently say Texas A&M will lose one more game this year and finish 8-2 at the best, the very best.
they have to play y'all last.
I'm not even looking at that Auburn game. I'm looking at they could lose to Carolina. I could see them losing to LSU. I could see them losing to Ole Miss. I could see them losing to Auburn. I could see them slipping up. They tried to lose to Arkansas last year when that team was a whole lot worse than they are right now.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, that team hadn't changed a whole lot.
Yeah, they got a quarterback.
Kind of. So that's something that just mind boggles me. Tennessee's another one of those teams that just mind boggles me. I don't get it.
You got to decide if you're good or not. You can't do this to us. You can't.
And don't get me wrong. I think Pruitt's doing a great job in Knoxville. I do, and you're welcome to disagree. I think Pruitt is doing a very good job in Knoxville, but that team.
I agree with you, but I just don't understand, man.
I'm mind boggled. I'm with you.
How do you get blown out by Kentucky? I don't understand. I don't get it. I think you're way talented than Kentucky. And we've talked about this before. Talent doesn't win ball games all the time. Pure talent.
If you're more talented than the other team and they wind up upsetting you, it's usually a close ball game.
Yeah. This was not a close ball game.
Not a 27-point butt whooping. I don't know. I'm confused. They're a confusing team. Ole Miss is a confusing team.
Some people had them winning the East this year. I mean, some people thought Tennessee was really going to run the table in the East this year. So,
the fun thing about this year, there's nothing else. It is fun because there are question marks. There is Alabama, there is Georgia, and there's a whole bunch of question marks in the SEC. Like you just said, Tennessee. A lot of people said they could run the table. I'm going to keep moving down the schedule if that's cool with you. Ole Miss. What I don't know what's going on in Oxford. I don't know if I should be – tell me if you feel it the same way because I feel like you might. I don't know if I should be extremely impressed with the progression of that football team or extremely disappointed in the fact that they could have won a lot of these ball games.
I mean, man, I just think that was really the first defense that stopped Ole Miss. Matt Corral threw 6 interceptions. I think that was kind of a bad decision on Lane Kiffin's part to leave him in that long. I know he's got don't get me wrong. I love Matt Corral. I think he's a great quarterback. He's got a rocket arm, man, and he can move back there too. But you got another QB sitting behind him named John Rice Plumlee who can run. He can run the ball. And I just think after 3 or 4 interceptions, you kind of give the ball back to him. You let him start running the offense. I know he doesn't have the best arm. I know he's not Matt Corral. But I don't know. I think Arkansas's got a pretty good defense. I don't want to take anything away from Arkansas here. It's not like Ole Miss lost the game, but I think they had a big part of them losing it because of the 6 interceptions. But I don't know. Ole Miss is confusing. I like to ride with Ole Miss. I love it. But this was the first week I think they've been stumped on offense.
They looked confused.
Yeah, Arkansas really boxed them up. Shout out walk-on Hudson Clark. 3 interceptions on the game. So shout out to him.
And shout out to Lane Kiffin for tweeting and saying, glad we could help the kid get a scholarship.
Seriously, yeah. Sam Pittman, they asked Sam Pittman if Ole Miss knew who Hudson Clark was, and he said, well, They've heard about him 3 times now. I love me some Sam Pittman.
Okay. Way too early for me to say this. Actually, I don't know that it is. We're going into week 8 now, even though most teams only play 4 games, right?
Yeah.
But right now, Sam Pittman is my SEC Coach of the Year, and I mean that.
I'm right there with you.
Because there's absolutely no reason Arkansas should be making any kind of noise.
Anywhere near.
What'd you say?
Anywhere near this good.
No.
How many games did they win last year? 2?
2 all year. In a 12 game.
They hadn't won in 2 games since, what, 2018?
Yes.
And to be honest with you, Arkansas won right. I think it was a great hire by Arkansas. I completely agree with you.
I'm with you. We talked about this before the show. Arkansas should be 3-1 right now.
If anyone else is the front runner for Coach of the Year, I want to know who it is, because Arkansas made a great hire in Sam Pittman. I love the energy he brings to the football team. I think he's creating a great culture there, especially because
the fans are interested again.
Yeah, and I like a lot of teams post some locker room videos of their coach talking and stuff. I love listening to Sam Pittman talk. I think he brings a lot of players together. I think he's bringing players together there. I think he's starting to make them buy in and believe that Arkansas can turn this around. And to be honest with you, Tarr, I'm not saying they're going to come out and beat, Alabama or, even Auburn. Well, but I'm not saying they're going to come out and win, what are they at, 2-2 right now? I don't think they're going to go undefeated on the year or anything like that. But I think they're going to win a couple more ball games, and they're going to make a bowl game. And
there's a real world where Arkansas goes 5-5 this year, and that's a massive success for them. Yeah,
dude, no one expected this.
Massive success.
I thought they were going 0-10 before this.
Oh no, so did I.
I didn't think they were going to win a game. I thought them and Vandy were going to play each other in the
Birmingham Bowl.
Yes, in the 2 0-10 teams. Who's going to get the win? But no, man, I really like this Arkansas team. I think they're taking a huge step in the right direction. They look
and not
good.
to mention, they're going to get Felipe Franks for 2 years.
I don't really like Felipe Franks, but he's been playing good. He's been playing good.
This is not a Felipe Franks Stan account. Don't get it twisted. But for a quarterback transfer, at a school that had a quarterback problem, well, they had a football problem, but a quarterback problem, namingly, that was a home run for them. And
huge.
Sam Pittman, slam dunk. This combination, I'm excited for Arkansas fans, because let's be honest, back in the Ryan Mallett days, it was fun when Arkansas was good. So that's something that I look forward to going forward. We were talking about Ole Miss a little bit this weekend. Let's go ahead and there's really nothing that stands out in the SEC this week, to be honest with you.
I mean,
Alabama, Tennessee. That's better.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say Alabama, Tennessee. I don't think it'll be close.
I don't either. I think it'll be a curb stomping. Auburn, Ole Miss, going to be close. It's going to be really close. Or maybe it won't be.
Where's that game being played?
Oxford. Yeah, no, I know.
Y'all better strap it down out there.
Kentucky, Missouri, South Carolina, LSU. South Carolina's going to beat LSU this weekend. We're going to get there, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, no, I agree, too. Let's go ahead and make picks since there's only 4 games, if that's cool with you.
Go ahead.
Auburn, Ole Miss, go ahead.
Give me Ole Miss. Ride with the lane train. I don't think y'all will stop them.
I am going with Ole Miss as well. Alabama, Tennessee. We both said we're going to take Alabama, not close.
Yeah.
Kentucky, Missouri. UK favored by 5.5. That game's at 3:00. And in Missouri, at Missouri.
Give me Kentucky. I like what they did last week against Tennessee, which I think Tennessee's a good team. So I think they come out here and get another win against Missouri.
I agree. And then we just said South Carolina, LSU. I just think that there's a lot of things going on with LSU right now. None of it is good. South Carolina is South Carolina could be 4-0 right now. That could have happened if they would have made a little bit. If they would not have gotten outplayed and outcoached. Not, and I know that's the game of football, but like there were a couple of plays going that could have gone either way in two different games where Carolina could be sitting at 4-0. I don't think they're a 4-0 good team. They could easily be 3-1.
That's where I was going. I think they could be 3-1. No, you're right. They could have beat Florida. But no, they really could have beat Tennessee. I think they were a couple of plays away from beating Tennessee in that game. I think South Carolina's not that bad. I thought they were going to be. I'm not saying they're amazing by any stretch, but I think they've been impressive. I think they've always put up a fight, and no, I think they roll LSU this week.
I'm with you. I'm going to be the one to say it, Clack. I know we're going to save like big takes for a little bit later, but I'm going to go ahead and use one. I'm going to burn one of mine. LSU's bad. LSU's just not good this year.
I completely agree. And with Miles Brennan being out, I don't think that helps their situation at all.
And then no news surrounding their program has been good for the past 6 weeks. Yeah. And then what came out earlier today about Odell Beckham Jr., you said it yourself. It's already going to tank recruiting that they're so bad this year. But losing scholarship spots for 2 years, losing 4 scholarship spots, and not being able to have the currently most influential player come back and visit, it's going to be hard to sell LSU. And Orgeron's in some trouble.
Yeah, I just think they're a one-hit wonder.
I'm with you. I'm with you. If LSU if 2019 to 2020 LSU, the gap is not the perfect example of if something is too good to be true, then it is. I don't know what a better example is. LSU fans saying, "Oh, we're back to dominance," or LSU, alumnus and players, we're back to dominance. This has got to be too good to be true. It is. LSU is a one-hit wonder, and they're not going to be back.
I mean, I'll give LSU some credit. I know you lost the entire team from last year, basically. You pretty much lost that entire national championship team. There's a lot of talent, so much talent on that roster. Maybe it's just because they're young, not a lot of experience. But I don't know. You don't lose to Missouri.
They're bad. I'm being the one to say it. I'm not even trying to be like a jerk. And LSU's bad.
And judging from what Mississippi State's done since beating them, I'm gonna have to agree. I just think LSU is just really bad.
You said it the best last week. They have solidified themselves as the worst reigning national champion in the history of college football.
Dude, I don't even know if they're gonna. Because I have them losing this game.
Yeah.
Arkansas can. Arkansas can beat them. Dude, they might not even go 4-6.
Trouble in paradise. Seriously.
Man, that's really bad.
Let's move on to some other big games around everywhere else. I'm gonna round this out at the end. I want to save the game I'm most excited for this week for the end, because I want to talk about that for a second, because I have to go on my little tangent about Mike Gundy every week.
I got you.
But there's no reason for anyone to buy into the Clemson-Syracuse hype. That's not been interesting in three years. Ohio State is back. Big Ten is back. That's huge, massive, good for college football. We agree, right? Good for college football. Arguably, I think Ohio State's going to wind up they're going to prove this weekend when they curb stomp Nebraska that they are probably the third best team in college football, or they're in the conversation for the top 3. If you get an opportunity, Eastern time, it's noon. Central time, it's 11. Watch the first quarter of that game if you don't believe me. And then you will. NC State, North Carolina, that's going to get a lot of hype. It's still a noon kickoff, and it's a ranked game. Personally, I think North Carolina will curb stomp NC State.
How about Florida State?
Yeah. How about them?
Man, they made a quarterback switch, and now they look good. They look good against North Carolina. I don't think they're gonna go out and beat
I think
everyone.
I
But
personally I think it was a fluke. Like I'm gonna be honest. Like
okay, that's fair. No, that's completely fair. Good for FSU. It's nice to win one every now and again.
shouts out Drew Thompson. Like I don't know what else you want me to say. Like
Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I'm with you. I still think North Carolina kicks the crap out of NC State.
Yeah.
NC State's kind of one of those teams. Is like, oh, cool, we're ranked.
Yeah.
Enjoy it while it lasts, boys. You know what I mean? Like one of those circumstances. A fun, feel good. Just a quick one. I'm looking at the top 25s because I know there's a couple we wanted to talk about. Fun, feel good game. Coastal Carolina is ranked, and that's just fun. I mean, that is good for college football.
Yep.
That is fun. Justin, one of the friend of ours we went to high school with, Justin Scola, plays on the line, defensive line. Excuse me, he's a linebacker at Coastal Carolina, so good for him. He can enjoy his week of being ranked until Georgia Southern probably knocks them off because they like to do that. Other than that, Penn State's back. They're going to play Indiana. 8-win Indiana. I don't know.
Michigan, Minnesota.
Yep.
Who do you think? Who do you got in that game? What are your takes on that?
I'm going to make a lot of people unhappy. Row the boat. I really, PJ Fleck has done a phenomenal job in Minnesota in a very short period of time. There's no reason that Minnesota team, Michigan's not going to be a contender. Minnesota's not going to be a contender, but they should do very well until the real grit of their schedule. Michigan, I will never buy into Michigan until they give me a reason to buy into them.
Yeah, I understand.
Cincinnati, SMU. That's a fun one we talked about. That's going to be
undefeated. Who is the best of the non-Power 5 teams? SMU's 5-0, Cincinnati's 3-0.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bearcats.
Are you?
Yes.
Okay.
No, that'll be a really fun game. The game I'm most excited for is a 2:30 kickoff because why wouldn't it be? 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central. Iowa State, Oklahoma State. Now this is a big opportunity for my man. This is a Mike Gundy stan account. Okay, because I'm a big believer in Oklahoma State this year, number 6 in the country. I still don't think they're getting the respect on their name that they probably deserve. They also, we've talked about it before, you play your schedule. So they've not played their schedule, played the real grit of their schedule yet. But if they can take care of business against Iowa State this week, I think people will start realizing that is the only hope for the Big 12. And if they lose to Iowa State this week, the Big 12 doesn't have a chance. Unless Iowa State wins out, and even then I don't think Iowa State gets it. So
State's still around, but they lost their quarterbacks. So I don't think
yeah.
I don't think so. Speaking of the Big 12, Texas, Baylor. Anything interesting there? I think Texas will win. Tom Herman will be fired by the end of the season.
Yeah. No, that's Texas and Oklahoma have been exiled from my mind at this point because they are both so disappointing. But yes, no, I'm with you. Texas takes care of business against Baylor. I don't think that's really a conversation. Other than that, I really don't see anything. And not that I'm looking right now, but I really don't see anything crazy happening this weekend. We'll have an upset somewhere.
Yeah.
But it'll be like FAU upsetting Marshall, something dumb like that, not kind of irrelevant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't really think we have anything interesting to look out for. UVA is not going to beat Miami. So, I mean, it's not like this is going to be a crazy weekend, but turn on your TVs because Big Ten football is back. And I've never said that before in my entire life, but I am actually very excited to watch the first quarter of the Ohio State game. And that'll be about all I watch. Namely because the Auburn game comes on at the same time, but also because it'll be over by the end of the first quarter. Nebraska does not stand a snowball's chance in hell.
Really? You don't think so? I thought Nebraska would upset them.
I really hope you're kidding.
Of course I'm kidding. Are you kidding me? Ohio State's going to walk through the schedule.
Yeah.
They're going to moonwalk through the schedule. They're going to moonwalk to the – it's cakewalk. They're going to win their 8 conference games.
Don't get it twisted, though. I think that they're going to prance their way through their schedule because I think they're that good. I really think they're that good. And then they get to the playoff, and we'll see.
I think they get to the playoff, and either depends who they play first, but I think they lose to Clemson. Either
True.
way.
Wild card of this year. Looking at the playoff picture. And then we'll round it out, see if we want to talk about anything else. Notre Dame. I don't think they're all that good. I never think they're all that good. But they're playing their schedule, and they are taking care of business every single game.
Yeah, barely 12-7 against Louisville. No, they're gonna get curb stomped by Clemson when they play them. That'll eliminate them.
Twice.
They're gonna lose both. That'll eliminate them from the playoff. I don't want to hear anything about Notre Dame. They don't deserve to ever be in the playoff anyways. You need to join a conference first if you want to.
This year.
Or you can actually schedule some a pretty decent heavy schedule and try and play your way through that. But Notre Dame, no, I don't want to hear about it. You beat something called Louisville 12-7, struggle win over a mediocre to not even good team. You're going to get curb stomped by Clemson twice. That's saying if you make the championship. But yeah, I'm not a believer in Notre Dame. No.
I agree. I never have been.
Uh,
Anything else that you wanted to make to pitch? Did you have any bold takes for this week?
Bold takes. Well, I mean, I have my 4 playoff teams who I'm fairly confident who is going to be. It's going to be number 1 Clemson, number 2 Ohio State, number 3 Bama, 4.
You cut out on your 4 for me.
Oh, I cut out?
You're number 4. I got your first 3.
Oh, Georgia.
Okay. I'll give my updated after this week. So give me Kansas. No.
That's a stretch.
Hear me out. Give me Kansas. Give me Vandy. Who says no? No, okay.
UTSA.
Number one, Alabama. Number 2, Clemson. Number 3, Ohio State. And I'm doing it. You know what I'm doing, and I'm going to do it.
I know what you're doing.
Number 4, give me Oklahoma State.
Okay, can I ask you a question? Do you really think Alabama's better than Clemson?
I think they'll have a more impressive resume.
Well, duh. That's not hard to do. I'm saying comparative football here. Do you think Alabama's football team is better than Clemson's football team?
I think this is me not trying to dodge your question. We need this year more than any year before. We need Clemson and Bama. We need them to play because we need to find out. Because
honestly, even after the shorter game, after this week, I still think the Alabama defense isn't very good.
I agree, but
their offense is amazing. Don't get me wrong. But guess what? Clemson has an offense as well. That's
no, I know, but I think that they get in as the 1 seed because of strength of schedule.
That's fair.
And then in my matchup, Alabama curb stomps Oklahoma State, and I would acknowledge that. I would pick Alabama I would once again say tied by 14, probably more. Although that would be that'd be a fun game. It wouldn't be close, but it would be a lot of just like 9,000 passing yards.
Yeah.
Like the game would last like 7 hours because incompletions would stop at every down. It would be fun. In my scenario, you have Alabama taking care of business against Oklahoma State without an issue, which Oklahoma State fans wouldn't even be disappointed. This would be the holy grail for them to be the damn Super Bowl, to be in the damn Big 12 championship in the first place. But
yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, I know. And I don't like being wrong. So if I didn't believe that was going to happen, I wouldn't be saying it. Then you would get Clemson and Ohio State. And I think Ohio State's really good this year. I still think that you get a repeat of the 2020 matchup at the very beginning of the year on New Year's Day. Or excuse me. Yeah, for the playoffs this past year. Yeah, I don't think that Ohio State would necessarily be in the same shape that Clemson would be in. But then you get Clemson Bama again, and I actually think, as boring as it is, and I know we were really tired of the Warriors and Cavs, and I know we're getting tired of Bama and Clemson, but at the end of the day, you want to see the two best teams in the sport play each other. And I think those are. So I don't know that there's I don't want to confidently say that I confidently believe Alabama's better than Clemson, but I'll give them a soft belief, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not going to go hard commit, but my crystal ball is still Alabama.
That's fair. I mean,
and you know that pains every fiber in my being to say that.
man, yeah, you're right. No, I agree. You're right.
To round things off, we appreciate you guys listening this long. Thank you guys for bearing with us. We're really excited for everything going forward, getting set up with multimedia. And Clack, you watching the World Series at all? All right.
Why would I watch the World Series? I don't even want to talk about this. It's been a sad week.
Rays in 7.
No shot.
I agree. But good luck to Austin Meadows, Grayson High School alum. We really hope you do well. Truthfully, we are pulling for you.
Oh, believe me, I want the Rays to win more than anything. But
mine doesn't have as much to do with the Dodgers as it does about just wanting Austin and a Grayson alum to win a championship. But whatever Clack says goes.
I just hate the Dodgers, man.
Best of luck to the Meadows family. We're pulling for all of you guys. In terms of anything else going on other than the NFL being a complete and utter shit show, I think we can wrap it up from there.
I don't even need to start on that. The one team, the one.
Thank you guys for joining us today on Friendly Rivals Podcast. Will Clack's going to go climb in the closet behind him and cry himself to sleep. So we will see you guys next week.
See y'all.